Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I'm your host, Ron Dichter. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being part of this community of ours. As we get started into today, I want to just talk about the entrepreneurial journey. And there's a lot of times where I will talk with either newer or first time entrepreneurs, and they talk about the destination of where they're trying to go. And they really get focused in on like these things that I'm going to do so I can get here. And I often think back to like all the different businesses that I have started and I've been involved with. And a lot of times the enjoyment, the excitement, the fun of the business doesn't happen when you get to the destination. Certainly that's part of it. But what I have found is that the journey, the climb, the process to get there is really the exciting part of the business. It's the fun part of the business. And frankly, when you get to that destination, that can't be a finish line. Unless your goal is to sell the company and go away, then you can't have your destination be a place that has a finish line because as a business, it's an evolving, growing thing. It's just like a person, right? As a person, we have to constantly be growing. We have to constantly be evolving and becoming different and frankly better than where we were the day before. And a business is just like that. So when I talk to these entrepreneurs, they always get really excited about like, here's where we're going, here's what we're going to do. And when we get there, it's going to be awesome. But what happens when you get there? Does it end? And again, unless you're building an exit plan and that exit plan has you not being involved in that business, you need to have a bigger part or a bigger thought process that goes into what is that journey and what are those, as I've talked about in the past, what are those checkpoints? What are those steps that you can get to? So as you think about the business, you can get really excited about going from point A to point B, but point B is not the finish line. Point B is just the next step before you get to point C. And that's something that you really have to focus on because I think most entrepreneurs don't realize until they get to the point that they've gotten to maybe that first, plateau or step or goal, that the journey of getting there is a lot more fun than actually getting there. It's the part where you're building. It's the part where you're figuring things out and you're putting together processes and you're building out your product, you're building out your team, and things are starting to come together. They're starting to gel. It's get really exciting. You start to see the momentum of the business. And again, that momentum, that kind of trajectory is what you have to keep pushing. And the only way that you can keep pushing is stop being so focused on the end and start being focused on the during, being focused on the process, being focused on how do you make this thing better. And when you do that, what ends up inevitably happening is that finish line that you envisioned in your head keeps getting pushed further and further out because you're more focused on how do I make the business better now, as opposed to how do I get the business to a place where I'm going here. And again, unless your whole goal is to get to a specific thing, and at that specific thing, you're going to sell and you're going to leave, your business is going to have a life. So unless that's your goal, then you need to be a little bit more thoughtful in not just where you're going, but the journey to get there and what happens when you get there, right? Okay, if I get to this, it unlocks this new thing. Maybe it's a revenue target that unlocks, the ability to hire or expand to a new division, open a new location, whatever your business is. And so today, really, I just want to reinforce that, you as an entrepreneur, the journey is the fun. The journey is where it's all made. The journey is where you feel that, that growth happening, and your finish line can't be a finish line unless you want to sell and go away. And if that is, that's great. But if your goal is to just keep growing the business, that can't be your finish line. So think about that kind of ongoing journey. And it's almost like you're just getting to that next phase where you can, look at what you've accomplished. And then now you're on to the next part of the journey here. So think about this stuff long term. Don't forget the journey is where the fun is had. And you will look back with hindsight and say, getting there was a lot more enjoyable than getting to that next point. So look forward to hearing about all of your successes. I know that there's been some great stories that have come out, and I always love hearing feedback. So don't forget to leave comments down below. If you haven't already subscribed, we put out 5 episodes per week. And don't forget to share it with a friend, because I think entrepreneurs are changing the world. And I don't have every answer, but anything that I can do to help a fellow entrepreneur become better and achieve their goals, I'm all about it. So thanks again for tuning in. This is Projecting Grandeur. Have a great day.